All right, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, however you choose to watch this today. We're going to be going through really quick the assignments, at least for week 2, to kind of give you a rough idea of kind of how to maneuver through Canvas if you haven't, and how I have some expectations for the class. As you see, again, we've got everything here. Chapter 1 I do provide for you. Chapter 2 and anything else I do not. So again, don't forget to get your books. Okay. You will see that there's some to-dos along this side. You're also going to see the course summary of assignments below, but I kind of want you to ignore those just a little bit, and I'd rather you go straight to modules, okay? I don't want you to get too confused with everything else going on. Modules will guide you in every way. So when you click on that, I do give you an option for that link to go straight into modules. FYI, my computer is going to go a little slow because of the recording app that I have. You can also find modules over on the left-hand side over here that says modules. If you click it, it's going to bring you right back here. You can also, as a heads up, say we're done with week 1 and you just want to go to week 2 or 3 or however, you can click on it and it'll lift it up. That way, if you don't get bogged down with too many things in your face, okay? So we were just on week 1, and I want to show you a few things. I did the introduction. We did the introduce yourself. There's the lecture and the other goodies. There's the reading response. You'll notice the due date isn't until February 1st. I do give it to you so that you have an idea of what you're looking for in chapter 1. And then there's a study guide. So some of you might be going, that's a lot of information in 1 week. I'm going to kind of walk you through a little bit to show you how you can work through the modules, and it'll be of your best interest. So if you just start from the very top of what I post, it's in order for a reason, okay? And then we have these videos and a nice screenshot of me. Looks like a crazy person. If you scroll down here, you can see where it says next. It takes you literally to the next thing on that list of the modules. So there we go. It gives you that introduction. If you scroll down, this one you might have to scroll down a lot because there's probably a lot of replies. Yes, there is. I don't know what it looks like for you versus me. So if you scroll down to the very bottom, gives you the next. Oops. Okay. Anyway, I'm just kind of showing you how you can go through to the next assignment. So here, I've got a lot of the lecture and goodies available to you. Again, our videos, the chapter 1. The glossary is going to be the vocabulary. The vocabulary is also in the PowerPoint. I'm going to open this really quick for you. And again, I kind of give you everything in order. You might see later when I have a next week, I might put maybe the lecture for next week ahead of time for you. I did it this week so that way you had something and got a really good sense of what we will be doing in class and how we go about it. You will see lectures sometimes do take some time. It would be as if you were sitting in class and us lecturing. Unfortunately, I don't get as much of the interaction, which is kind of a bummer, but at the same time, I do get a lot of really good responses through your peer responses, so it should be fun. Okay, so here's chapter 1 PowerPoint, and when I'm giving the lecture, you can actually click through however you like if you just want to click each slide. I actually like to play it. So I would go into present, and I know they're kind of boring slides, but whatever. It just gives you some kind of a visual if you just don't want to watch me sitting there talking. And you can click through with an arrow button, and it'll literally go all the way through each of these. So again, when I talk about vocabulary, you're going to see the vocabulary is always pretty much going to be in our PowerPoints. So again, you can click through. I think what I'd like to do, I'm going to get out of this PowerPoint really quick. I have some lecture notes. I'm going to show you what those look like. These lecture notes are how I take notes when I'm reading through the book. I'm going to post these lecture notes as an example of how you can start taking notes when you do reading, okay? So you'll see that I saw that there is going to be some vocabulary. A lot of this, you'll see in the PowerPoint slide. In the PowerPoint slide, you can do that too. You can make a note of the, vocabulary words. So this is both notes from not just the PowerPoint, but also the reading. All right. And so you can walk through and see what kind of how the notes will be. I think these did a little bit better maybe than my actual lecture. So these would probably be better for you to go through. Sometimes it's a lot easier. Sounds strange. to stand in front of the class and present this information than it is in a video, because I get interactions and it's just a different atmosphere. So I have these notes here in case for some reason I miss something, which is always why you want to read the chapter. So just keep that as a heads up. I pretty much use the same stuff. You'll see I'm scrolling through here. And just kind of like a rundown of the chapter. Not fully, the book obviously does way better, but this just gives you a good idea on how you can take notes for this class. Again, I put where the page number is that I found it. If you like highlighting, you can do that too. I'm a huge note taker and I highly suggest you take notes too. If questions arise, make a note in your book. You can address me, you can address the rest of the class, however you want to do it, through discussion. And that's a good way to ask questions, is under the discussions under someone else, say they make a mention of something, you can ask them, what their thoughts are on your particular question, and you guys can go back and forth. Okay. So anyway, this is just real quick on what the notes would look like. All right. You're going to see at the very bottom here, signal phrase. I'm going to talk about that in a second with our next assignment. Okay, so we're going to go back up here. Again, this is what the chapter 1, week 1 with some of the chapter 1 look like. I'm going to bring you through. You're going to see a couple different assignments as you click through this next one. This is the reading response that is going to be due on February 5th. We got a due date here. We have how many points it's worth on here, and it's going to tell you where to read the pages in your book. So 20 to 31, there's a lot of different articles. And again, some of them are a little aged, but at the same time, they're really just trying to make a point. Okay, how are we utilizing the chapter in what we read in these situations, in these articles? All right, super easy. You have to use at least 3 vocabulary terms. And remember, we went up to chapter 2. Oops, I'm sorry, chapter 1. You can tell I'm doing all kinds of stuff here. We had our vocabulary words that we would be using. So in your reading response, all right, you would use one of these 3. You could use all 4. You could do as many as you want. The practice is what matters, but you have to make sure that you're using the words correctly. Okay, so there's a lot of times where people will use the word conclusion wrong. They'll say in conclusion, or however they would expect, they would assume this word to be used. That's incorrect. I want conclusion to be a position about an issue. So in a sense, yes, the conclusion of a paper might say, in conclusion, what I'm looking for here is a position about an issue, okay? What is the claim? What is the opinion? In research, what is the data interpreted by the researcher? This is what a conclusion is, okay? It's not the ending of a paper. It's the position you come to on an issue based on the research or the information that you get, right? So the reasons. A conclusion is based on reasons, and the reasons come from evidence that support it, okay? So anyway, that's how I want you to make sure you use these vocabulary terms, all right? And so I'll probably do a quick review a little bit before chapter 2, if that helps you at all. But again, these are going to be a real quick, easy way of kind of understanding what our vocabulary is. Okay, so make sure you use at least 3 vocabulary terms and respond to 1 or 2 of the questions for discussion to guide your response. So in your book, you're going to have questions on there that will help you guide how you want to utilize the vocabulary and things that you learned in the chapter. Okay, so the things I want you to remember is don't forget to begin your response with a signal phrase. Okay, let's go back to my notes. At the very end, a signal phrase. It's a phrase that introduces a quote or it paraphrases something. It signals to the reader that an outside source is being used. What is the outside source that you're using? Diesler, right? You're using the book. So you would say, in the book by, you would use her full name. You would say, based on this article, and you can state the title of the article, however you want to address it. You can say, and this is what they said. You can do it in quotes. You can summarize it. I want you to get used to not, what's the word? Plagiarizing. So just kind of make sure that you're using the correct phrases to introduce your information, okay? You should write a minimum of 10 sentences typed, okay? I know some of you might count it and go, oh, thank God I got 10. And you might kind of, repeat yourselves. Utilize this, be succinct. You don't have to do this huge thing. It will be a discussion, okay? So all you have to do is reply and make your statement. You do your 10 sentences, include 3 vocabularies, and don't forget to bold your vocabulary words. So when you go to respond, it does give you an option to bold right here. So you would say, in the article, blah, 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 you would say something in whatever, so the argument. So argument would be one of our vocabulary words, and you would just make sure you bold it. Okay. That way I know that that you're using the words intentionally and that you understand how to use it. That's the biggest thing, is understanding how are you using this vocabulary. Okay. You must respond to at least 3 of your peers for full credit. Last semester, I had a lot of students who just would type and they wouldn't do responses to peers, and it really got them in the end. Responding to your peers is participation. It's showing that you're interacting. Plus, FYI, as a note, at the end of the semester, you're going to be working with a partner in your debate. I will give you the option to choose your partner, or you can ask me to choose your partner. I might just, throw your names against the wall and see what sticks. But I want you to be able to interact with your peers, see what they're writing, kind of get into conversation with them, because you're going to need them later. All right. So, read their work, interact with them. These people are going to be important to you. So I know it's online. It's a little bit difficult because you don't get to see their faces, but you get to see their work and you get to work with them. So interact with them. Who do you think might be a good partner in a debate? The debate on its own, you already know the answer in the debate, so you don't actually have to argue with someone, but someone you feel you could work really well with. So anywho, so that's going to be the reading response. Again, it's going to be due February 5th. So I'm going to cancel this because y'all don't need to see that. Next, I'm going to show you ahead of time. Let's see what we've got here. It's a study guide. Okay. You'll notice there's no points on this. Ignore that, because this is actually worth points. This is just the study guide that I give you because there will be a quiz. Okay, there's going to be a quiz for the study guide. The only reason why I put no points and there's a no due date for this particular thing is because there's nothing for you to turn in for this, but you will be taking a quiz in regards to Thank You for Smoking. So you will watch this movie, Thank You for Smoking. That link, if you click on it, is going to send you to, it's going to open up where you can watch the movie. Start checking it now. I haven't had issues. It's been working great for me, other students. Super easy. Click that. So make sure you have time for that, because there is a due date, which is going to be a quiz. All right. So below is the study guide questions for the quiz. You will be answering essay written questions wholly in the quiz. So please go to this link. All right. When you click on this link, it's going to send you up here. I got things open so it doesn't take me as long to open, and it's still taking forever. Okay. You want to print these questions and have them available as you're watching the movie. Again, notice I highlight those vocabulary words. Some of them you're like, what? I have not seen these words yet. That's because I haven't posted chapter 2 just yet. All right, so when I post chapter 2, you're going to be able to understand the rest of those vocabulary words. But for now, we're just doing the reading response, which will be due on the 5th. Okay, anyway, so go ahead and read through. You can copy and paste. You can do however you want, but make sure you have these questions available, because again, in that quiz, you actually have to write the answer out. So normally I would have you print this up and hand it to me during class, which is great unless you don't have a printer or printing issues. So now there's really no issues with printers or getting your paper to me. It's all going to be right here. Really quick, I'm going to go back to modules because this is the last piece in this module. Sorry. That was weird. Okay, here we go. All right, and that was the last thing in that module. That was just to give you a heads up on what to expect. For week 2, that's coming up, you're going to see the lecture and other goodies. I don't have chapter 2's lecture up yet. Obviously, you can see that I am working on it now. But that being the case, I'm going to show you what it looks like. Again, all this is pretty much open and ready for you. I'll go over some fallacies. I like to throw the fallacies in there because they're pretty fun. Chapter 1, we've got that in there. What is that, chapter 1? Oh, that's actual chapter. Okay. And then we have begging the questions. Chapter 2, again, I don't have a link to that, but I want you to know to read it. So that's what you want you to read. And then again, that study guide. So all these things I would like you to go to and read. So if you haven't already read chapter 1, you need to get on that because now we're on chapter 2. And then that study guide. Now, I also want you to watch the Thank You for Smoking and then week 2 lecture. These all coincide. And with that, I want you to respond. Okay, so respond to the chapter 1. And also you got that quiz coming up. And that quiz, let me show you real quick. I'm gonna give you a little bit of a hint here. Okay, I'm gonna show you something. You look at this and you're like, okay, with the quizzes, don't wait till the last minute. Do not wait until the last minute. There's too many times where someone will wait till the last minute. It times out. It does something stupid. You know, IT, power outages. You got to make sure you just do it to the best of your abilities. What's really cool is you've already printed your study guide, so you have all the answers. You have all the answers you need to take this quiz. Keep in mind, you only have one attempt, but what's kind of nice is it's not timed. It's unlimited. But you need to be cautious because if it times out, if you shut your computer off, like who knows what could potentially happen. So be prepared by printing it beforehand and get ready to take the quiz. Okay, I'm going to tell you a little something about quizzes. I'm going to show you some. What are some of Nick's values at the beginning of this film? That looks like an awfully familiar question. Oh, what do you know? What are some of Nick's values at the beginning of the film? Ladies and gentlemen, yes, I gave you the questions to the quiz. You just have to find the answers as I go back here real quick. All right, so, super easy. All you have to do is take this quiz, answer exactly as you answered before. You'll notice it just says 1 point. These do add up really quickly. Okay, not answering would be a detriment to you. Make sure you watch the film. Make sure you answer all questions. Yes, you're like, well, it's only worth 1 point. These add up, and it's going to be a huge. How do I explain this? It really does affect your grade. So when we talked before about grades, you might say, oh, well, it's only worth 15 points. I don't have to do it. These add up, and I look for that. And I say, you had, 4 quizzes. You didn't take any of them. Well, 0 out of 4 is a 0. 3 out of 4 is a 75%, right? And then 2 out of 4 is 50%. And then 1 out of 4, you got 25% there. So you see how quickly, even though they're small points, they add up and they'll get you. Okay, so keep that in mind when you go to take these quizzes. So don't just say, oh, it's only worth a certain amount of points. I don't have to worry about it. The percentages of this do add up. Okay. All right. Let's go back here. Again, I'm going to go through the false analogy, equivocation, and begging the questions. You will see when you click on them, they're going to send you to a fun little page with, let's see, there we go, with a couple different comics, as it were, or memes to kind of help you understand what false analogy is. And I'll go through and I'm going to have another video that kind of describes this so you can have a better understanding. And these are great because especially now you're going to have a lot of people who make arguments about things. Like, remember we talked before that some people would be like, oh, well, violence is violence and murder is murder. My dears, that is not an argument. That is a statement. All right. So we're going to learn how to see the fallacies that people are using, the incorrect ways in which they're trying to make an argument. Where, again, when we talk about fallacious, where it's these false arguments, there's nothing that's backing it up. Okay. So anywho, I'll talk about that a little bit later so you can get bored by that. Actually, I really love fallacies. They're really fun, especially when you get to know them and then you call people out on them later. I don't do that. But if you wanted to, I guess you could because you would know them very well. Your reading response will be due on February 5th. You might notice that the thank you for smoking, again, doesn't have points because that's the study guide. And this is a study guide quiz with worth 15 points, okay? One thing I wanted to point out, I forgot to mention this earlier. So the reading response for students, you have to respond by Sunday the 7th. So it's due, the actual response. You need to respond to the reading. Your reading response is due on the 5th, but your responses to your peers is going to be due Sunday the 27th. Heaven help me, February 7th. Okay. All right. So I think that's pretty much it for now. I'm just only going through the first two. I'll probably walk you through some of the other assignments as we get there. But for now, I just want you to have a general idea of how it's going to go, because the reading responses and the study guides are going to be consistent. Reading responses, you can see they pop up consistently. All right. I'll go over these other ones a little bit later, but for now you can just see how, again, reading response here. We got another study guide, that kind of stuff. Okay. All right. So if you have any questions, feel free to email me. To be honest with you, everything is pretty much self-explanatory here. The biggest thing is before you post, before you do anything, please read all the directions. Make sure you're looking for things that I'm looking for, whether it's highlighted vocabulary words or responding to your peers. What else? Just like the formatting, MLA formatting. Obviously, please reread your work before you post it. These are not text messages that you're sending friends. These are actual homework assignments that your instructor will be reading, as will your peers. So please be considerate also when you're responding and writing. Sometimes we have opinions on things, but we will consider all the things that we are reading and applying those. So, all right. I hope that works for you, and I will see you on the other side.